Hi, everybody. Peter Wolf with Partnering for Success. I think I nailed that, Tom. Better Together is the subtitle here. And the reason why we say that is because partnering makes everything better. I'm joined today by Tom Doran of Innovia. Tom, do you want to introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hey, Peter, it's good to see you again. My name's Tom Doran. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Innovia Consulting, longtime Azamba partner, and really looking forward to our discussion today around partnering and how it can help all of us grow our business.
Well, I'm a big fan of that, and thank you for being such a great long-term partner. Now, I know you guys do a lot of Business Central. Can you tell us why that's your primary focus for ERP?
We've been doing ERP for about 40 years, Peter, and maybe 25 years ago, we came across this product called Navision. It was stable. Appeared to be scalable. A lot of the software was a little bit shaky back in the late 90s, and we were really excited about Navision. Microsoft bought it, and we decided, even though there were a lot of other Microsoft products, that we could really only be experts at one thing. And our customers really rely on us to be good. And so we said, look, we're going to focus on, what is now Business Central, previously Nav and Navision, and we'll partner with companies like Azamba, right? If somebody needs CRM, then we're going to call our friend Peter. We're going to come in together and we'll tell them one Microsoft story, even though there's two of us delivering the service.
Yeah, I love that approach, and that makes a lot of sense. So you pretty much started with the Navision product, and then as that morphed into Business Central, you just have taken the ball and run with it.
We did. Microsoft's done a really great job. Now, look, anybody that's been around a long time, from 2003 to 2006, nobody was really sure which product Microsoft was going to take into the future. Now that's
Mhm.
clear. They came out with their GP announcement. You can't even buy it new after 2025. It is finance and operations and Business Central that move forward with the Microsoft ERP.
And why do you think Business Central is growing so much? Is it because Microsoft is putting so much into it, or are there other reasons?
Holy smokes, if you call Microsoft and ask them, just give them a typical description, and they're going to say F&O 90% of the time. The
Really?
fact is, so Business Central grew 75% year over year in terms of end users. It's the fastest growing product. And the reason is it's a complete solution. So for the vast majority of the mid market, whether you're just coming from QuickBooks or you're a growing company that's got a few plants across the globe, we found Business Central to be really scalable and very affordable. And I think that's why it's growing so fast.
Well, I think also, doesn't the F&O have a minimum?
Well, it does. So for those small companies, the minimum's going to keep them with Business Central. But for the mid-size and larger companies, it really starts to come down to total cost of ownership. So it isn't really just the license, but what does it cost to maintain the system, get it implemented, and those types of considerations that I think have made our customers choose Business Central.
Yeah, that makes sense. I actually run into some small businesses that tell me that they're looking at F&O, and I'm shocked. Like they have 3 users, and I'm just like, someone gave you some bad info, I think.
We would agree.
So, Tom, I know Business Central has some CRM capabilities built into it. I think it's called Relationship Manager. And I know they're pretty good for like just core contact management and whatnot. But when do you discuss dynamics for sales? When do you give me that call, as I love to hear from you? What makes the choice for you?
So, we discuss dynamics for sales immediately. So we try to understand what they're doing for CRM now, what their goals are in the future. And then we try to give them a little bit of a compare and contrast. And then usually some requirements surface that lead us one direction or the other. So we have that conversation right away.
That makes sense. That makes sense. But how do you help them determine which is the right path for them? Is it cost? Is it functionality? Is it certain requirements? What
It's
is it?
typically functionality and requirements, Peter. So,
Hmm.
if you think about really structured sales processes where you need automated flows, if you're looking for more enhanced marketing automation, those are the types of things that tend to drive us to dynamics for sales or dynamics for marketing.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's kind of what I see as well. It's the RM, the relationship manager that's built in, is pretty good at the basic block and tackling. But if you want to have more systematized, automated, streamlined processes, that's when you look at the big brother and you tap in the full Dynamics CRM suite.
That's exactly right. And that's often what I think about you. I just say, hey, let's call our big brother.
But I'm your big brother. That's so kind. Let me ask you another question about Business Central. Is there such a thing as a typical cost to implement Business Central, or does it always vary from customer to customer? Or do you guys see patterns? 'Cause I know you have some industry specialties, right?
We do. We see some patterns. It really depends. And so we try to have a conversation with the customer early on because everybody says they want to change their processes until you ask them to change their processes. And so we really want to understand culturally, what are you doing? How are you doing it? And why is that important to you? And then when we understand those things, we can begin to figure out how much process reengineering is there versus just using the software as it comes out of the box. Because a trap that lots of companies fall into is that we start changing and modifying things before we take the time to learn how the system actually functions. So to answer your question, you could put in a finance only Business Central for around $60,000, give or take 10.
And what
There
size?
are,
Oh, sorry,
okay,
Tom. I was
no,
going
you
to
go
ask,
ahead.
like, what size client is that typically? Like, what is an average customer size for you?
It's interesting that you asked that. So if you're thinking about finance only, it's less about size and more about what are you using the software for. So if you're GL, AP, AR, maybe a little bit of purchasing, then you're probably in that $60,000 range. If you're adding a little bit more enhanced distribution, you're probably between 60 and 100 and a quarter. If you start to introduce manufacturing, advanced warehousing, service management, all of which are base functionality within Business Central, then you're probably more in the 175 to two and a quarter range. And then you start to look at um, your willingness to follow best practice versus needing the software to function the way you want it to function. And there's no right or wrong answer, but it does affect the cost.
I mean, that makes sense. Just to paraphrase it a little bit for those of the folks out there listening that aren't in the business software application space, it's really a matter of how much do you want to use the software as it is out of the box and with standard recommended best practices versus customize it and tweak it and change it and morph it. And anytime obviously you get into those situations, there's more involved with it. There's more discussions, there's more testing, there's more labor to just build it out. So that makes a lot of sense to me.
Well, and I'll
Uh,
tell you with automated tools, and I never start here because I don't want people never remember the other explanation I gave you if I start with the first number. But we've had customers implement this system for less than $10,000. It's,
really?
it's all about, sure, the tools are out there. There's great videos, there's great training, there's step-by-step setup guides. If you're willing to do this work yourself, you can do this very economically. The challenge that we run into is that most people had a day job before they started to implement the system. They don't have the time to focus on it, and they want, more assistance.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um, I was going to ask you, because I know you guys do have certain industries that are sweet spots for you. What kind of industries do you like, and do you gravitate towards them because they're a natural fit for BC, or do you just have that's just where your internal strengths lie?
Well, so we do a lot in manufacturing, and then we do a lot with food distribution and food manufacturing. We didn't set out to be experts in those areas, but we were a Midwest firm, and these just happen to be the types of companies that we started with customers, 40 years ago. So today, we tend to gravitate towards those, and our business is really that of referral. So, I joke with people, we help companies that bought from the low bid get their system straightened out.
Huh.
You will find lower prices than Innovia, but we don't think you're going to find a better team. And lots and lots of customers are looking for more help.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of what you just said there. A lot of people don't know this, and I know Microsoft um, sometimes tends to suggest to partners like the Azure and SharePoint partners that you should just be selling Dynamics. And you and I both know that that's a good way to get yourself in over your head and lose a great customer because you just, you went to a couple training sessions and think you technically, I'm sure these partners are very smart and they can figure it out. But my guess is that you and I both know like it's lessons learned over decades of working with business applications that have taught us how to implement it well and make sure it sticks. And I think that's where you and Azamba, where we differentiate, and we're making sure the customer is going to get a return on investment. It's not just going to be throwing money into the furnace.
Well, and I was having a conversation with a great Azure partner and longtime infrastructure partner, and they're really, really good. But they're tech guys, they're network guys.
Yeah,
They're in their earliest genesis, these were accounting systems. Like, if you don't have some basis in understanding accounting, how are you going to advise people on how to set up their chart of accounts, how to get their financials set up, how to handle their WIP posting or their cost of goods? You need a little bit more rounded business knowledge, training, experience to be the type of advisor that a more complicated company is going to want.
yeah. I
And
think
like
that
you
makes
say,
a lot
you
of
don't want to
sense.
blow up a good relationship, right? If they're a great Azure account and you've got all their licensing and you're doing all their security, why would you jeopardize it by trying to stretch for CRM or stretch for Business Central? Partner with somebody else. They're not going to, if you get the right partners, they're not going to touch your other business, and you end up with a sticky, happy customer.
Sticky, happy customers. That's what we all want. The other thing
That's right.
that you said there, I think that the world moves so fast these days, and Dynamics itself, Microsoft is investing so much in the product. Like, I don't know about your team, but like for us, we're doing this full time. It's hard enough to keep up with just CRM. I can't imagine doing
Oh, yeah.
Azure and SharePoint and Office and Business Central. I mean, we have a full-time job just keeping up with all the innovation that Microsoft's feeding to the customer base and to us on a daily basis.
That's the truth.
Yeah. Okay, well, you've answered some great questions, and the other question you kind of already answered is what types of companies are the best fit for Business Central. You answered, what Innovia particularly excels in, but are those also the best fits for Business Central, or does Business Central extend horizontally? I know there's a lot of
And
add-ons and a growing number of add-ons for Business Central that kind of go into different niches.
yeah, there's over 3,000 apps in AppSource right now. I would say for any company that feels like you're outgrowing QuickBooks, certainly you want to take a look at the Microsoft solution. And then, there's a lot of companies on old legacy systems, visual manufacturing, made to manage, some of that old Sage stuff. Those folks will be needing to make a decision about what platform do they want to make the foundation for their business. And I think somebody would be pretty hard pressed to say that Microsoft hasn't really established themselves as the leader in terms of business platforms. When you look at Azure, Teams, the entire Office suite, and now all of that works with your ERP solution, um, I feel like it's a hands down winner.
Yeah, makes total sense. So let's see. Just one last question I would ask, which is, what would you say to a partner? And we kind of already answered this, Tom, but what would you say to a partner that's considering adding Business Central to their offerings?
I would say that if you're already an ERP partner, I think you need to take a good hard look at Business Central. It's a great product. It's very full featured, and Microsoft is adding new features all the time. If you're a related industries partner, so Azure, infrastructure, those types of things, then I would say you should add a couple of slides to your business review around what the customer's doing for ERP. Be able to have a 15 to 30-minute conversation about what Microsoft has to offer, and then have a partner relationship in your back pocket. So CRM, I think Azamba is a great group. Business Central, Inovia, but there's others. Find a partner that fits your style, that you feel like you can trust, and then go to market.
I really like how you keep complimenting Azamba, Tom. I think this is why we have such a good friendship.
That's right.
So it just shows how wise you are, really. But no, this is great, and I know Inovia is just tearing up the charts. And one of the things I've always liked about working with you and your team is that you care about your customers so much, just like we do. And it's like one thing to say you're customer centric, but it's another thing to prove it. And I know all of our joint customers, they have nothing but praise for Inovia and for the care that you put into it. And I've also seen firsthand how you recover those implementations that maybe were put in on the low at the lower cost, the lower end of the budget. And lower budgets don't always mean success. And in fact, a lot of times they jeopardize success and create frustrations that could have been avoided if they just went with a quality service team like Inovia in the first place. And I know it may sound like I'm blowing smoke, but it's the truth. And I know from working with you for 5+ years now that is absolutely how the customers feel about Inovia, that, the joint customers we work with.
I was just joking with a guy the other day because we were really substantially higher than the next person. And he said, I'd really like to work with you guys, but you're so much higher. And I said, well, when you hired your attorney, did you hire the lowest price attorney or did you hire something a little bit more? At the end of the day, you're looking for a result. And we think we have a track record of delivering those kinds of results.
And it's funny, we both have the long-term view of this. If a customer does go with those lower cost results, you just keep them on file, because 9 times out of 10 they're coming back because they're going to be so unhappy and they're not going to be getting a return on their investment. They're going to be struggling. So it's good to keep those relationships alive and let them know, hey, we understand, but hopefully you'll be back and we'll be able to help you.
Well, that's why we support the user group too, right? Like, look, if you're going to do it yourself, or on, with one of the low bids, make sure you're plugged into the Dynamics user group. You can get a lot of advice around any of the Microsoft products. It's totally free and a great resource.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I know you guys are a big part of those user groups. You started your own user, like a chapter, right? Locally.
We do support several chapters. We've got 3 chapters in Canada. We've got several chapters across the United States, and there's new chapters popping up all the time. So if you're a Dynamics user that is interested in a local user group, reach out to Peter or I, and we'd be happy to help you get started. It's a lot of fun, and I guarantee you there's going to be other users in your neighborhood.
That's awesome. Thanks for contributing to the channel and to the user community, Tom. You guys are doing great work, and I know you got your own customer conference coming up. This particular session is going to drop probably right a couple weeks before your conference, but you guys do that right annually, so people that are interested might want to just reach out and get on the books for next year.
Love to see them. We'll be in Denver.
All right. Anything else? Any last words?
I don't think so. It's always a pleasure to speak with you, Peter.
Thanks for making the time, and we'll be seeing you at some upcoming conferences, I'm sure.
Very good. Take care.
All right, bye.
Thanks everyone for joining us today. Here is both Peter and Tom's contact information if you'd like to reach out to either one of them with regards to partnering or Dynamics 365 Business Central or Dynamics 365 CRM. Once again, thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you in a future webcast.